I'm a chef. I've always been a chef. Even when I was at school, I was running home, peeling potatoes, making shepherd's pie, rather than doing my homework. I've been so lucky. I had an amazing family that loved me and cared for me and looked after me, despite the challenges that I gave them. And I really believe in the power of food, and that really comes from my family and my friends and the whole world around me that kind of surrounds itself with amazing food. Which is why when the tsunami happened in 2004, I decided to do something physical and go out to Sri Lanka to see if I could make a difference. I ended up cooking for lots and lots of people, and it was an amazing experience, but what it taught me was how quick life can be taken away from you, and how displacement and loss can be really difficult to overcome, almost impossible. When I came back to London, I decided that I would try to use my skills in a different way. I still wanted to cook, but I didn't want to cook for necessarily just wealthy people that just enjoyed a lovely plate of food and that was the end of it. So I went and tried to find a cause. And the cause that I looked for was something that I would struggle to understand and try to find a way that our skills as a chef I could put to. And I kept coming back to homelessness and the absurdity of it, particularly in London or in the UK, where we seem to have everything that we want. In fact, we spend quite happily too much money on 3 or 4 cups of coffee a day. I met lots and lots of people, and I have a friend who was actually homeless and had spent some of his life going into the public sector to try and change the system from within, and is now doing some amazing work. I met Andrew. Andrew was a crystal meth user. And I used to go around walking around Soho in London with Andrew, and I couldn't understand why he would spend money, and how could he afford to spend money on crystal meth. And he said to me one day, he said, "Simon, when you're homeless, you're lying on the street, and it's wet, and it's cold, and you're scared, and you're not quite sure if you're going to wake up in the morning, I'd rather spend £10 that will keep me comatose for 3 days. I won't be aware of what's happening to me." Homelessness is a massive problem. 320,000 people in the UK alone. 150 million people worldwide. In the last 10 years, it's increased in the UK for 169%. That's 15% just in 2017, and it's looking like 2018 is going to be even worse. There's an increase of people that used to have a job and now don't. It's 88% of people. They had a job, they were professionals. And 88% of people that have been homeless have all suffered childhood trauma. So probably might have been 5, 10, 30 years previous that hasn't been addressed. 80% of people that have been homeless can't even rent a room because nobody will rent to them. 39% of people that have been homeless have been sanctioned. Do you know what sanctioned means? It means the very people that should be looking after you are targeted to cut the services, to cut the cost. So whether that's financial or services or just being there to try and help you. It costs society £1 billion a year in the UK. £90,000 if you are reoffending. And why wouldn't you reoffend? You get shelter, you get a meal every day. And 70% of us, good citizens, don't know what to do. Do we give some money? Do we not give some money? It only costs £2,500 to get a homeless person back on their feet. And it only costs £25,000 to get somebody into full-time, meaningful employment. But employment that they can be proud of. So what do I do about it? In 2005, I went to Soho in London and I found a hostel. It's called the House St. Barnabas. It had been a hostel for many, many years, had lots of history of looking after people, particularly women. And it had been closed down. And so I approached the charity that ran it and offered my services to create a pop-up event space. And I employed many of the people that had been there. I taught them how to cook, I taught them how to be in hospitality, how to serve drinks, how to cater for people. And we helped lots and lots of people. The problem was I'm not very good at running a business. I'm a chef. I'm very good at making soup, which is okay. So I started to concentrate on my social outcomes rather than the business. And the business was difficult. And after the time that we finished our pop-up, actually we had to move out of the same area in London. And so the business really suffered. So I thought it'd be an amazing idea to go on TV, bare all to the dragons in Dragon's Den. I think you might well have heard of similar programs around the world, Shark's Tale, for example. So I asked for £150,000 for 25% of my business. And the dragons loved it. They even loved the fact that I brought on a guy that had killed his brother and he'd done 22 years in prison. I taught him how to be a baker, and we baked fresh bread for the dragons, and they loved it. They were inspired. The problem was that program's about profit-led investment. But I'm about a profit. I want to make a profit, because the more profit I make, the more people I can help. It's very simple. Social enterprise is the way forward. We don't all have to walk around in loincloths. We want to make a living, but we want to help people at the same time. So we walked out of the den with nothing, apart from there was a social investor who was watching the show, and he gave me the money. And to my regret, I've not given him that money back yet. I don't think he's banging on my door for it, to be honest. We together fitted out a strategy. We worked out where we wanted to go, where we wanted to take ourselves, and we knew we needed a building. So we partnered up with PricewaterhouseCoopers, the biggest accountancy firm in the world, and they wanted to help social entrepreneurs. So we found the oldest fire station in the city, and we created a social enterprise restaurant called Brigade. It trains and supports people that have experienced homelessness in the hospitality industry. We wanted to create a structure, a training structure. So here's ours. Fresh Life is a 3-week program. It looks after people. It teaches them that they're the priority. They need to eat well. If they eat well, they have the right energy and motivation to move themselves forward. Get Stuck In is an employability program. It's not a CV writing workshop. It's 3 solid weeks of teaching them how to be employable. Then we offer them the opportunity. The opportunity is they can just leave. There's no strings. They can just go. They're probably quite often ready for work, and we will help them find it. Or we offer 2 apprenticeships. They're full-time, fully paid for 2 years. So we have our United Kitchen apprenticeship scheme to do a year in the Brigade restaurant and then a year out in a guaranteed placement. And the front of house skills are covered with the out front apprenticeship. Again, 12 months solid work and then 12 months work placement. And it's all about getting that job, getting that feet getting your feet on the surface and helping yourself up, grabbing hold of the opportunity that we offer. Problem is with being homeless, it's a bit like looking at getting to a locked door, looking through the keyhole. You can see what you want, but you don't know how to unlock the door. And that's kind of where we come in. So we developed this idea of giving them a life longing. So we help them understand it. Underneath, they know what's going to make them happy, but they don't know how to unleash it. It's not about having a Ferrari or a big house or an amazing job. It's about being happy ultimately, and so we try to help them understand what that looks like. We then give them 10 keys. These are 10 keys that we know that if they don't use them, they won't succeed. That's a big statement to make. I've been doing it for quite a few years. We make them sign a charter, and if they're not prepared to sign the charter, then they don't come on our course. So our structure is really important. Very quickly, I'll go through them. Honesty within. Not many people are truly honest with themselves. We kind of make stuff up just to get by. We kind of tell ourselves it's this or that. But when you're really honest with yourself, it's so much of a clearer road. Take care of you is about putting yourself as a priority. Even if you've got children, if you're not the priority, how can you look after them? Progressive diet is about eating functional food that is going to help you. It's not going to slow you down and demotivate you. Self-commitment. Now, I love sugar in my coffee. And I tell everyone all the time, when they offer me a coffee, do you take a sugar? And I said, yeah, I'm cutting down. I'll just have one. That's not commitment. I should say, I don't take sugar in my coffee. Have purpose. Just knowing where you want to go. Having the self-esteem and the confidence to have some purpose. If you don't have purpose, how can you expect to do anything? Necessary separation. That's the biggest one. I know that if the people that we help, they've got deep, complex needs and issues, And if they don't understand what they need to take out of their life to move forward, they won't work. So we help them identify it. It might be a person, it might be a place, it might be a gang, it might be a substance. And we help them understand that they've got to take it out. A good example is we have a young girl who has a sister. Her sister's bullied her whole life, all the way through into adulthood. She's now an alcoholic. She has children she doesn't see anymore. She went home after signing the charter. She asked her sister to leave her alone for at least 6 months. She's now working full time. She's not drinking, and she sees her children every 2 weeks. Massive step forward. Investment in relationships is about being friendly to people. Just be friendly, and then people are friendly back. And then what happens is your whole outlook on life changes. Where tomorrow is, don't put your head on the pillow without knowing what you've got to do. Even if you've got nothing to do, decide that you're going to go for a walk around the park. Get up, do something. Barriers are mine is very simple. We all put barriers up. We blame everybody else, our colleagues, our friends, the guy down the road, the drunks on the street, the system. But usually we put those barriers. We need to take them down. It's our responsibility, no one else's. And the last one is about being open to support. There's no point in thinking that you can do everything yourself. The most successful people in the world have people helping them. So being open to help and support is really vital. We understand our pathway. There's ups and downs, there's ebbs and there's flows, and that Beyond Food Foundation really supports everyone all the way through the process. So here we are, back where we started. We've got Mike. Mike was living in the States for 32 years illegally. He had a house, he had a car, he had a job. And one day he was driving and he got stopped randomly by a state policeman. He didn't have the necessary information. He got detained for 2 years. He then got taken out of the country and back to the UK. He had no ID, no clothes, no money, no nothing. Ended up on the street. Walked into a day centre and he saw a Beyond Food Foundation poster talking about fresh life. So he applied. He's now working in a little tiny gastro pub in the middle of Sussex, cooking amazing game that's being shot locally, and he's cooking his heart out. Mike, 63 years old, had never cooked professionally in his life. Or we've got Ben, a medic in the army, 18 years served Queen and country. He was bitten by a tick in Afghanistan, and it broke his whole body down, his mind down, and he was eventually sectioned. He lost his home, he lost his family, he lost his friends. He lost complete sense of what he was about. We met him about a year and a half ago, and he's been working at Brigade for 12 months, and he's an amazing cook, a really fabulous cook. He loves flavor, he loves cooking. So here we are, this is the restaurant now, Brigade. It's a social enterprise. We train and support and employ people. You might think this should be a small backstreet cafe maybe, this trains homeless people. But it's not, it's a beautiful restaurant. We've just renovated it. In fact, we've only been open a month. We take the best ingredients bought from source, so bought from the actual producers that produce the food. And we cook them over wood. And it's all about the flavor, it's all about the professionalism of Brigade. Amazing drinks, amazing staff, amazing training, amazing employees. We have amazing customers that understand what we're all about, but they want good food, and we should be giving it them. But there's no reason why you can't help people along the way. By the way, it's in London Bridge, and if anyone's in London. So what do I want to do? What's next? Well, I want to feed the community. I want to educate the community. I want to take this to other places. I want to take the idea. And I write books and I share those books. In fact, the cookery book that you can see above me, we've just given it to 5,000 young people so that they understand the power of food and how looking after themselves is the most important thing, because not everyone gets the start that I had. And then we can look at other industries as well and see if we can try and take food and good food to new people that maybe need it. Like the construction industry, for example. The highest rate of suicide in the UK is in the construction industry. 60% of construction workers around the world are homeless. That's incredibly wrong. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much.